Hello, I'm Lorraine, and I'm here to guide you through this short information video from Inclusion Ireland on the Carers Allowance. This film will take a few minutes to run and will be divided into 5 sections. Introduction. Carers Allowance. What is it? Means test. Main qualifiers. Rates. The form. Where to get the form. How the form is divided. What happens next? Useful information. Introduction. Inclusion Ireland is the national organisation advocating for the rights of people with an intellectual disability in Ireland. Part of the work of Inclusion Ireland is to provide information on issues affecting people with an intellectual disability and their families. Inclusion Ireland received small grants to make a series of short films to provide practical information in an accessible format on making social welfare applications. This project is co-funded by the European Union under the Progress Programme 2007 to 2013. More information on Inclusion Ireland is available at www.inclusionireland.ie. Carers Allowance. The Carers Allowance is a payment to a person who is looking after someone who needs support because of age, illness, or because of physical or intellectual disability. You should apply for Carers Allowance as soon as you start caring for someone. It is means tested. A means test is a way of checking if you have enough financial resources to support yourself. In a means test, the Department of Social Protection examines all of your sources of income. In carrying out a means test, the Department of Social Protection will look at any that you may have. They will also look at the income of your spouse, civil partner, or cohabitant. Any property or asset, except your home, will also be taken into account. They are looking for anything that could provide you with an income. This could, for example, include pensions or benefits from another country. Your income from investments and money in a savings account are not taken into account. Instead, investment items such as money, a savings account, or the cash value of property are added together, and a special formula is used to work out your weekly means. More information on how this is worked out is available at www.citizensinformation.ie or www.welfare.ie. However, any payment made by the Department of Social Protection is not taken into account in the means test for Carers Allowance. Means test for Carers Allowance. The means test for Carers Allowance involves assessing your income. The amount of weekly income that is not taken into account is €332.50. In the case of income of a married couple, civil partners or cohabitants, the first €665 of their combined weekly income is disregarded. To be entitled to a carers allowance, you must be living with a person in need of care, or you must be in a position to provide full-time care and attention to a person in need of care. The person who needs care must not normally live in an institution. However, you may continue to be regarded as providing full-time care and attention if you or the person being cared for is undergoing medical or other treatment in a hospital or other institution for a period not longer than 13 weeks. You must be resident in the state. You must not live in a hospital, convalescent home, or other similar institution. You must be at least 18 years old, and you cannot work or attend a training course outside of the home for more than 15 hours a week. There are also some rules about the person you are caring for. That person must be over the age of 16 and in need of full-time care and attention, or the person must be aged under 16 and receiving domiciliary care allowance. There is a separate video on domiciliary care allowance. So what do they mean by saying someone who needs full-time care and attention? The department says this means that the person needs continuous supervision in order to avoid danger to himself or herself, or that they need continuous supervision and assistance throughout the day with normal bodily functions. Finally, the person must be likely to require full-time care and attention for at least a period of 12 months. Rates. The following are the rates for Carers Allowance in October 2012. Carers aged under 66 caring for one person, the maximum weekly rate is €204. For a carer aged under 66 caring for 2 or more people, the maximum weekly rate is €306. For a carer aged 66 or over and caring for one person, the maximum weekly rate is €239. For a carer aged 66 and over, caring for 2 people, the maximum weekly rate is €358.50. There is an increase for carers who have a qualified child. The maximum weekly rate is €29.80 at the full rate and €14.90 at the half rate. As you see, there are different rates if you are aged under 66 and if you are over 66. There is also a different rate if you are caring for more than one person. If you are caring for 2 or more people, you get an additional 50% of the Carers Allowance, which equals €358.50. As you see from the rates, there is an increase in Carers Allowance for a qualified child. There is no qualified adult payment. A qualified child means that you can claim an increase in your payment for a child. There is a full rate increase of €29.80 or a half rate increase of €14.90. The full rate applies if you are single, widowed, separated, or a civil partner who is not living with the other civil partner. The half rate increase is applied if you are living with your spouse, civil partner, or cohabitant. The child must live with you, be under 18, and be resident in the state. However, there are more rules about how you qualify, and information on this is available on the Citizens Information Board and Social Protection websites. Filling in the form. Everyone applying must fill out the main Carers Allowance form. If you are caring for more than one person, you must also fill in the application form for Carers Allowance for additional persons. You only need to get this form if you are caring for 1 or more persons. Where to get it? You can get the form online via the Citizens Information Board or Social Protection websites. You can also get hard copies of the form from your local social welfare office or your local Citizens Information Centre. How the form is divided. The form is divided into 10 different sections. The first page of the form gives some directions for filling it out. It asks that you use a black ballpoint pen, block letters, and place an X in the relevant boxes. You need your PPS number. Everybody must fill in parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Part 1. In section 1, you have to fill in your personal details. This includes your PPS number, name, address, and date of birth. You then have to sign a declaration saying this information is correct. Part 2. Part 2 deals with what income you have. It looks for information on any payments you are getting from the Department of Social Protection or HSE, if you are employed or attending college, and your savings. It asks a number of questions over 4 pages. You must state if you have any savings in the bank, post office, or credit union. Just because you have savings, it does not mean that you will not get a social welfare payment. If you own any property or stocks, shares or investments, you must also put this on the form. If you get money from any other place on a regular basis, you must put this on the form. It also asks if you're paying maintenance. Copies of any paperwork you have related to this, such as bank statements or pay slips, need to be sent in with the form. Please write your PPS number on the back of any copies that you send into the department with your form. Part 3. Part 3 deals with the habitual residency condition. The term habitually resident is not defined in Irish law. In practice, it means that you have to have a proven close link to Ireland. This section asks what country you were born in, if you've lived out of Ireland in the past 5 years, and if you are legally entitled to be in Ireland. Part 4. This part asks how you would like to be paid your carers allowance if your application is successful. You can be paid via the post office or a bank, and you have to give your account details. Part 5. Part 5 deals with whether you have any children and relates to the qualified child payment. You need your children's PPS numbers for this section. Part 6 and 7. You only need to fill out Part 6 and 7 if you have a spouse, civil partner or cohabitant. Part 6 asks for your partner's details, including their PPS number. Part 7 asks for details of their income. Part 8. Part 8 asks for details of the person you are caring for. This includes their personal details, such as their PPS number and date of birth. It asks if you have applied for domiciliary care allowance for the person. This allowance applies to children aged under 16 and is considered a gateway payment to Carers Allowance. It asks if the person you are caring for attends a day centre and whether the person stays overnight in a residential centre. It also asks if the person is living with you and how many hours per day and per week you provide care. If you do not live with the person you are caring for, then you must state how many kilometres away you live from that person and whether there is a direct phone line between the two houses. Finally, it asks that you give details of how you support the person on a daily basis. Part 10. I will return to Part 9 in a minute. In Part 10, you again have to give your name and PPS number. The person you are caring for has to sign Section A in this part. Section A says that the person is receiving full-time care from a person making the application and that they will tell the department if this changes. They also give permission for their doctor to give the Department of Social Protection information on their medical history. The final section is for the doctor to fill in. The doctor must give details of the person you are caring for. The doctor must also sign and stamp the form. Along with getting your doctor to fill in the medical report, it is very important to get all the reports and letters, etc., from all the medical teams the person is being cared for or is involved with. Any information that shows the support the person needs in a day-to-day living can also be submitted. The more evidence you have to support your claim, the better. Part 9. Part 9 is a checklist. Please read carefully. It asks for you and your partner's most recent pay slips. This applies if you are employed during the last 12 months, so even if you are currently unemployed, this is still relevant. You and your partner's statements from any financial institutions for the past 3 months. If you have children aged between 18 and 22 and you are claiming a qualified child payment for them, then you must have a letter from the school or college to prove that they are in full-time education. Your last P60 or P45. If you or your partner are self-employed, then a statement from your accountant. In addition to this, it is important to check that your doctor stamped and signed Section 10B. It is also important to remember to enclose any supporting medical information on the person that you are caring for. Also, if you were born outside of Ireland, you need to include your original birth certificate. If you were married or entered a civil union outside of Ireland, you need to include original certificates of your marriage or civil union. If you are applying for a qualified child payment for a child born outside of Ireland, then you need to include their birth certificate. However, if you are receiving child allowance payments for that child, then you don't need to do this. It is very important that you send in all relevant information. The current waiting time for applications on Carers Allowance to be decided is very long, and if you do not submit all the relevant information, it could take longer. What happens next? There are currently some delays in processing Carers Allowance payments, and it may take some time for your application to be processed. You may qualify for supplementary welfare allowance while you are waiting for your claim to be processed. Contact your local social welfare office for more information on this. Payment will be awarded from the date of your application is received, or from the date your qualifying payment is awarded if later. Forward the completed application form with all the relevant additional documents to the Carers Allowance section at the Department of Social Protection. Department of Social Protection, Carers Allowance section, Social Welfare Services Office, Government Buildings, Ballinalee Road, Longford, Ireland. Telephone 043 334 0000 or low call 1890 92 77 70. If you refuse Carers Allowance, you can appeal this decision. Please see our short film on appeals for more information on this. Useful information. If you need any help to complete this form, please contact your local social welfare office or Citizens Information Centre. For more information on where these centres are and to download application forms, log on to www.welfare.ie or www.citizensinformation.ie.